Hello and welcome to the third video in the ArduPilot on Matek F405 in an AR wing build. Quite hard to say. Now this time is going to be all around carrying on from the build. If you look at the last one in the series, then we got to the end where we'd flashed ArduPilot onto the Matek system. We popped on an X8R to check the S-bus inputs were working. We'd gone through with the GPS settings and everything appeared to be fine. Now to get ready to put it into the wing, there's a couple of extra things that we need to do. Obviously there's no FPV system on here, and also need to swap over to the Crossfire receiver. Now, if you're brand new to TBS Crossfire and you don't understand what it is, I'll put a link here to the series that I did on it. It's my favourite long-range system, and using some of the other bits from Team Black Sheep, you can do some pretty cool stuff, and hopefully in this video you'll see what some of that cool stuff actually looks like. Now, there's a couple of things that we need to do before we actually get into this. There's a couple of pieces that we need to glue onto the AR wing. Now, I'm going to put my RunCam 5 into the nose of the model, so we're going to need to glue that into the front. I'm just using pins here to keep everything in place. I'm using the foam safe glue here. I would always recommend scuff up the surface of foam like this just to make sure there's no mold release agent on there and it's got a nice surface for the glue to bind onto, and also attach the nice plastic skid plate. And remember, this is the version 2 of the AR wing that has a couple of these additions. Because with those two pieces glued on, then the wing is pretty much ready to start installing things into. But before I go too far, let me very quickly plug all the pieces into the wing. Now, the CG marks are actually moulded under the wing, which is very useful. But the feedback that I've had about this particular AR wing is that it flies better when the central of gravity is actually towards the back half of that big circle. The circle itself is a pretty big circle. It's about the size of the tip of your finger, and that's about, what, 10-12 millimeters. That could be quite a big range to have the central of gravity on. So I need it as far back on that dot as I possibly can, ideally in the half of that dot that's towards the tail. So I've just fitted all the pieces in here just to see how it's going to work, and it is pretty close. So I may get away with this. I know other builders have done things like put a spacer behind the motor to extend the motor back a little bit, but with the 2200 3S battery that I'm using in here and all the electronics and the way they're going to be quite towards the back of the model, I think if I'm canny with the position of the pieces, then I should get away with the minimum amount of modification. But once everything's inside in the next video, we'll double check. So I'm going to use this receiver inside the model. This is a Crossfire nano receiver. This one has come from Hobby RC, so I'll put a link in the description. This has come with the Immortal T antenna, which is perfect for this build. Now, of course, this is the kind of thing that you would normally put inside a little quadcopter, and it's a great little versatile receiver. However, it's not going to work really well for a plane like this because I want to have it all plug and play, as we've already talked about when we installed the pins in the last video. So I'm going to use this Crossfire Nano RX adapter, and the way it works is this little thing. When you look at it, I got a couple of these in and thinking, how the heck does all this work? But actually it's really obvious when you take a moment and you think about it. The way it works is what you do is you pop the nano receiver on top over these pins and solder the pins to it, and then it creates a little 4 PWM outputs, as well as have the BST stuff at the bottom as well. Then you can just snap in the antenna and put some heat shrink over the top of the whole thing, and you've got a little 4 output receiver. Now this is going to be really good for us because I'm going to use S-bus. Now at the moment when I'm checking the ArduPilot website, I can't see that it's supporting the CRSF protocol, which would have been great for this setup. It doesn't support things like smart audio, so S-bus is really the choice that we've got. So that's what I'm going to go for at this part of the build. By the time you watch this video, it may have changed, so keep your eye on the ArduPilot website and documentation. The development is moving pretty quick. So I'm going to need one output for S-bus, and that leaves me 3 other outputs on the receiver that I could use for other things, like a CRSF transmit and receive, maybe a telemetry pin, all kinds of funky stuff. So this is going to work really nicely, and it's relatively small and compact. There's tons of room inside the AR wing, as we've just seen, so it's not going to be a problem me popping it down there and having the antenna coming out on the hump just before the motor. So now that's all together, what I need to do is set up Crossfire on the radio. Again, if you're not aware of what Crossfire is all about, go and have a look at the Crossfire series on the channel. So I'm going to select CRSF for the external radio frequency, and then I'm going to bind the receiver to it, and it's going to go through the standard update routine to give me the latest and greatest version on the receiver. Now that the firmware's all up to date, then the next thing I need to do is to set up and map the outputs so they're going to work. So I'm going to run the Crossfire Lua script. I'm going to go into the Crossfire Nano receiver, and I'm just going to change how everything is going to work. Now the outputs on this can be mapped to anything that you want. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to go into the output map, and let's set it so that we have the S-bus output that I'm interested in, and probably the two CRSF pieces too. I'm going to go into output 1. Let me go through this until I find, where is it? There it is, S-bus. Output 2, let's change that to something, other way, like channel 6. Then I've got a PWM output. I'll tell you why I'm doing that in a minute. And then for the last two, let's have the CRSF receive and transmit pins, because that means that I've got the CRSF pieces inside the model. And again, I'll show you why I'm doing that in a second. Now we've got the receiver all set up, I can just install the S-bus input into the channel 1 output on the receiver, and that will take care of all the S-bus pieces. So the next thing for me to think about then is the video transmitter. Now, in the first part of the series, I was going to potentially use this Foxeer one. Thinking about that, I think there's probably a better choice. Again, the ArduPilot software isn't really up to date with all the very latest protocols at time of recording, so it's not going to support smart audio, it's not going to support tramp, so I'm not going to have a way to change the settings on the transmitter on the fly without having to take the top off. Now, we have lots of power internally, so I'm going to run the video transmitter from the Matek board. It has a 9-volt supply, which has easily enough power for the camera and the video transmitter, so that's going to be good. So what I've done is I'm going to actually use a slightly different video transmitter. I've changed my mind on this. The TBS Unify EVO is an interesting choice because it's one of the new generation of smart video transmitters. It will allow you to set it via pressing the button. It will allow you to set it by plugging in a USB cable and using the TBS agent. I'll show you that in a second. But you can also control it with a PWM output. So we could put a cable from the output that's slaved to channel 6 on the receiver into the PWM input on the VTX. And that means that by flicking a switch on the radio, it kind of has the same effect as pressing the button. So you can use the button presses to change your power band and frequency, or you can set everything up using CRSF. Now, if I wire it up in that way, then that means that I would be able to access all the settings through that same menu that we've just done to configure the receiver. So I can access the power levels, pit mode, channel frequency, and all that good stuff as well. So that is the way that I'm probably going to set this up. If in future ArduPlane starts to support things like smart audio, then I can have the control directly from ArduPilot. But this will allow me, because ideally I'd like to hide the receiver away, or put it where I need to without having to think about trying to get to that little button. It'll be great to be able to just access the settings somewhere, and on the radio via the Lua script will work fine. So this is how I've wired it up. I've set it up so that the CRSF transmit and receive pins are going to the receive and transmit pins on the little receiver that we've got here, and we can use that to then change the settings. So those are the additional cables by the side of the S-bus cables that you can see. And I'm also going to plug in the video out, the ground, and the 9 volts to power everything from the connections on the Matek F405-Wing. So hopefully by doing it that way, that will still give me a smart video transmitter that I can configure for everything, even though ArduPilot isn't quite there yet with support for the latest protocols. Hopefully in the future this would be dead easy. We can just use CRSF for everything and then smart audio to configure it, and it will make the cabling a little bit easier. Again, another reason why I'm trying to use pins as much as possible in here, because as things change in the future I can move things around and we could potentially do update videos showing how to use the latest version of the ArduPlane tech. Now, before I plug in the TBS Unify EVO for the first time, what I'm going to do is plug it into the computer, run the TBS agent, and I'm then going to flash the latest firmware. Now, the firmware on my EVO is 1.03. I'm going to go for the latest stable release, 1.05, and just going to plug it in and say update, and the TBS agent is going to update the receiver and do all that good stuff for me. And that's one of the cool things about having the little USB cable on. It does mean that I can continue to update this receiver to add new functionality. Once the update is done, the next thing I need to do, let me just set it here. So the first time we power this up, it's going to work at the right power level for the UK. So let's go into configure, click into general, just check everything looks good on here. We'll turn the off screen display off actually, because I'm just going to use the one inside ArduPlane. Video transmitter, we'll change the band to be Air 1, because that's the one that I use, 25 milliwatt, perfect. Disable pit mode. Call sign, we'll change the call sign to me. The call sign I don't think is going to be shown on the screen because we've turned the on-screen display off. Channel map, we don't need to worry too much about that. So that should be perfect for us to plug in and to give it the first test. So this is how I'm plugging it into the Matek. So the camera and video transmitter are going to plug into the standard pins just as you would with any other installation for this stuff. So let's double check that there aren't any shorts on the pins again and plug this in. Now we have the FPV system alongside the receiver. The camera's plugged in, the video transmitter's plugged in, the video transmitter's configured via the USB cable. So hopefully that should work. We should see an image. And all the TBS stuff is set up too. So next job to do then is to fire everything up, jump back into ArduPlane and just go and double check that everything is still working. Back into mandatory hardware, check the radio calibration, go through that again, make sure everything's working, and it is. So the Crossfire stuff is alive. That is always good to see. Definitely go through and recalibrate the radio pieces in here. Let's also just check the flight modes are good, make sure that all the switches are moving in the right way, which they should do, all the mapping is right. That's fabulous. Next job then is turn on the on-screen display. So we're going to go into configuration, into the onboard on-screen display, change the on-screen display type to 1, and then say right customization, and then click refresh. When we click refresh this time, there's going to be an awful lot more stuff that's going to appear that's all on-screen display parameter related. So this is going to take a long time. I'll just spin to the end. So now we've got it, we can then start to change the settings, whether we want imperial or metric. The Betaflight style is the way I prefer to do it. And then we can go into the individual screens and start moving and dragging things around to configure how everything's going to work. A quick check on the bench to make sure that we can see everything shows that everything appears to be working. I am having a bit of a weird issue with this. Occasionally when it boots up, it isn't booting cleanly. Sometimes that seems to be related to not having the Crossfire turned on, but we'll investigate that. I haven't got a buzzer attached to this flight controller. Having a buzzer attached for things like ArduPlane is great because it does give you audible tones to let you know what's actually going on. So in the next video, I will add the buzzer in. It doesn't work with a regular 5 volts piezoelectric buzzer. I've had to order the Matek one to go alongside this board. So we'll do that next, and then hopefully I can hear what's going on. It could be that I'm trying to connect before it's finished booting when it first initializes. So last job for this video, let me just put the power system together and put this very first part of the build into the wing, and then the next video will actually build the wing out. There's some considerations here about where things are going to go. Again, I'm going to try and keep as much of the weight at the back of the vehicle as I possibly can, just to push that central gravity towards the back half of the CG marks under the wings. So I've removed the ESC from the plane. This also has an additional JST plug to power the FPV system. We're not going to use that, but I'm going to keep the JST plug in case we're going to do something with it later on. So first of all, I'm going to take the top back off the flight controller, desolder the little flying lead that we've been using so far. Also take the cover from the ESC and desolder the pins from that as well. I would recommend before you do stuff like this, take photos or just mark on top of the ESC which is the positive and negative wires. Not all PCBs have that on the top. Once that's done, we'll start soldering everything onto the flight controller. Now I've tinned up the output pins. I'm going to use one for the JST plug and the other one for the ESC. Going to put the proper lead on to the flight controller for the inputs, so that's where the battery is going to plug in. Again, triple check polarity, make sure you've got things the right way round. Next job then is to clip off and install the JST flying lead onto the other motor output, and that's just there in case I need auxiliary power for something else later. Then installed two little flying leads onto the ESC so that we can have it as close to the flight controller as we can, so there's not lots of extra wires around, and then soldered that onto the Matek F405 as well, and that's all the power system done. The only job then is to put some heat shrink back over the ESC, and I even popped the little sticker back on top to make it look like it's always been that way. Then I just need to shorten the servo cable from the ESC to be able to plug it into the top of the flight controller, and we're good. Now I am probably going to have to remap the outputs. Looking at the Matek 405, it looks like outputs 1 and 2 are hardwired for the two motor outputs. Now originally when we set it up in ArduPlane, we had output 1 as something like the left elevon, the middle output 2 was the throttle, and output 3 was the right elevon. It looks like we're going to have to change that. So when we come back in, before we plug anything back in, I'll change output 1 to be throttle, and then outputs maybe something like S3 and S4 to be the two connections for the different servos. So now that's done, I've just used double-sided tape to install that into the plane, just making sure that when the spar is in place, nothing is being obscured and everything is nice and neat. And I'm trying to keep as well everything as far back as possible. I've put an SD card in here as well. We'll see how well that works, but there's absolutely tons of room in here to put all the other electronics around. We've got to get the receiver, we've got to get the FPV video transmitter, we're going to have the GPS out on the wing, and there's also going to be a buzzer in here somewhere as well. So join me in the next video where we've got all the pieces ready, we'll continue to put everything in the wing and we will get it all in one piece. I think for me, we'll probably end up putting the Immortal T antenna at the top of the hump just in front of the motor. We'll have one of the wings will support the GPS on the top. I'll run the cable underneath the wing, I'll cut a little channel and we'll sink it in. The other wing then probably going to have the video transmitter out on that wing rather than in the center. The only reason for that is that I'd like as much separation between the GPS and the video transmitter as possible, but also if I have everything kind of in line with the center of gravity and have the GPS out on the wing, then potentially that's going to mean that the center of gravity is kind of pushed to one side. So if I have the FPV system out on the other wing a little bit, it might be nicely balanced. So join me in the next video where we'll continue the build. This is proving to be an awful lot of fun. Thank you for sticking with me. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching the video and watching right to the very end. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you like the video and like what I'm doing here, then hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon too. If you really like what I'm doing, you can go the extra mile and become one of my Patreons for access to me directly for support and also giveaways and regular updates too. If you're looking for particular content, then check out the playlist. I organize all of my videos into playlists, so if you're looking for a particular topic, you can find everything here. If it's called Introduction To, it's designed to start very simply and build on that simple introduction to teach you all about it. If it's called For Beginners, then that is really aimed at people who are brand new to that part of the hobby. You can also search on YouTube for anything that you're interested in using the search function at the top. So iNav Painless 360 will find all of my videos and even the playlist around iNav. So thanks again for watching and happy flying.